For the law made nothing perfect. What did the law do? Made nothing what? This is to say, a government of thousands of years perfected nothing. So if it perfected nothing, it's of no use. It did not perfect anything. That is why right there in Hebrews chapter 9, you can see in verse 9, it was symbolic for the present time in which both gifts and sacrifices are offered, which cannot what? Make him who performed the service perfect in regard to what? The conscience. The law perfected nothing. Now look at this. The law awaits all these years to see if someone would accomplish or fulfill it, and no one was perfected. But Jesus died and was risen, and as soon as he was risen up, he begins with perfection. Let's perfect this right from the very beginning. For by one offering, he has perfected us forever. Listen to the difference. They waited thousands of years, and finally the law said, I couldn't perfect no one. Look at what else he's done. He's washed us, sanctified us, and justified us without wrinkles or blemish. In other words, this new government is Christ, the governor, in us, the hope of glory. Look at what verse 14 says. Now, thanks be to God who always leads us, say always, leads us in triumph in Christ, and through us diffuses the fragrance of his knowledge in every place. For we are to God the fragrance of Christ among those who are being saved. Listen, you know that we are a pleasurable fragrance. He that doesn't carry out this government, a pulpit where this government is not taught, it's not a pleasurable fragrance. Better yet, it stinks. Every Sunday, there's a bad odor in all of those pulpits that don't know this new government. But when you go to your job, you are a pleasurable fragrance. When you are in the office at the airport, visiting your country, you are a pleasurable fragrance. Every time you share the message with the CD, immediately that person is invaded with this government. Don't you see that faith is a form of government? And he always takes you in or triumphant. Even though sometimes you don't see it as something that's carrying you out to victory, but God says, I always take them in triumph. As Paul said to Philemon, Paul said, of all the good that's within you, that's the government of God. God is governing. You know what's the only problem here? That this government that was stagnated. God gave the instructions of the government to the Apostle Paul, but in Rome, it is to say, it stagnated. It ceased because the government of God is through the mind. God to govern you. God doesn't appear and threatens you. What he's seeking is your mind. That's why Paul says, with the mind I serve the Lord. So when he grabs your mind, now you don't need a pastor. He now leads you, and in your home, he governs you. That's why you see that you don't have to call for help. You don't need a psychiatrist, a psychologist, because when he possesses your mind, Isaiah says that that child that was God is a counselor. It possesses you and advises you. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't go now. Go later. Gives you instructions. It governs you.